roots of Nevada, the first non-native settlement, and the beginning of a battle-born state. It's all right here in Genoa.
There's two things that you need to know. One, it's outstandingly beautiful. And two, it happens to be very historic. This is the first settlement in the entire state. And that's why we're meeting up with Kim today, who's going to give us a walking tour so we can learn more.
This little town is located at the western edge of the Carson Valley, where Kim Kopel operates Genoa Historic Ghost Tours.
How are you?
Fine,
Nice to
John.
see you.
Thanks for joining our tour today.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm going to fall in line. You need to take us out of here, yeah?
Please do. Everybody's
right.
ready to go. Well, we have a great, beautiful day here in Genoa, don't we? Now, where we're standing right here is Mormon Station, and this was the first building in Genoa built here in 1851. And kind of how this happened is gold was discovered over there in California. And this was the Immigrant Trail.
Over 250,000 people migrated along this branch of the Emigrant Trail. Brigham Young took note of that and sent some pioneers to set up shop.
Colonel John Reese and Stephen Kinsey were sent out here by Brigham Young, who was the governor of Utah, which this was Utah at one point. And they wanted to find a place to sell their wares to the immigrants going over the mountains there. So they built what was a hotel and a trading post.
I don't know if Colonel Reese and Mr. Kinsey were good businessmen, but they were fantastic at choosing real estate.
So they started doing a good business because more people would come, and they needed to trade wagons and oxen. Well, about 1855, during President Buchanan's term, Brigham Young was noticing that this wasn't really so much just a trading post anymore, and a government needed to be set up.
By 1857, Brigham Young decided Utah should be its own country, and fearing an invasion by the U.S. government, he called all Mormons home. By then, a number of people had moved to Genoa, and in 1861, they decided to establish the Nevada Territory.
Well, shortly thereafter, we wanted to become a state, and it was a little bit hard to get started until silver was discovered in Virginia City. So they worked really, really hard, and right at the 11th hour, they got our Constitution into Washington, D.C.
Because the Constitution had to be in Washington, D.C. as quickly as possible, the entire 16,543 word document was sent by telegraph. It cost over $4,300, the most expensive telegram to that day. On October 31st, President Lincoln declared Nevada a state.
1864, we became a state, and then we became Douglas County, and Genoa became the county seat of Douglas. And so they decided they needed a beautiful courthouse, and the very first judge that sat on the bench was Judge Daniel Webster Virgin.
Since the earliest days, Genoa has been a bustling tourist town.
When you would walk down this main street before, you would be hard-pressed to cross the street without getting run over by a horse, a Pony Express rider, a wagon. It was that busy. They say that from dawn till dusk, there was the clanging of 4 to 6 blacksmith shops in this town, and from dusk till dawn, the clanging of bar glasses in 4 or 6 bars in town. So it was always noisy.
As we head over to one of the saloons, I imagine boisterous patrons bellying up to the bar.
Here we are at the oldest thirst parlor in Nevada, built in 1853 as Livingston's Exchange. An exchange meant a place you could exchange your money for something.
Livingston's Exchange, now known as the Old Genoa Bar, remains the oldest continually operational thirst parlor in the state.
By 1873, the Masons bought this building and they added a second story to it. And then they began meeting here. They started meeting here on the second Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. back in 1873. It's pretty cool that it still is an operating lodge. Downstairs, when you go in, it used to be the general store and mercantile store, so downstairs is all open, and that's where the Masons have their dinner. We used to have candy dance there.
Candy Dance was started by Lillian, the daughter of Judge Daniel Webster Virgin. She thought it would be a fine way to raise money to bring streetlights to Genoa. It worked. Soon, streetlights were shining on the main street through town. Lillian quickly realized they needed to pay the power bill. The Candy Dance then became an annual event. Today, it's a 2-day craft fair, and the highlights are still dancing and candy.
So at this point, this is where our tour ends. Thank you for coming to Northern Nevada, and especially coming to Genoa.
This is Genoa. There's magic in this sleepy-looking town, and the history is piled as high as the mountains behind it. It was Nevada's first settlement. Samuel Clemens stopped to drink here before he switched to his nom de plume Mark Twain. Emigrants traveling 2,000 miles in wagon trains stopped here. The Pony Express stopped here. I'm glad I got to stop here as well.
Historically speaking, how is this town different than other towns in this area?
Oh, this is where Nevada began. This is where there was no settlement here at all, as I pointed out before, and it built up around a trading post. So everything after us, when people went to branch out and maybe have land for their ranch, the towns around us came after. Even Carson City, came after us. So that historically, that's another reason why we're so proud, is because we started it all.